Hello, weary traveler. You look cold and worn from the road. Please join us by the fire, won't you? It is I, your dear friend Dave Makes Noises, the Geraldo Rivera of Dungeons & Dragons Storytime on YouTube. And today, we're asking D&D players, what was the funniest combat encounter you've had? Part 1. One time, the party was traveling on a foreign island when, as they were passing by a lake, a large shoal of piranhas leaped out of the water and started to flop towards us. The DM told us to roll initiative, and me, realizing something, said, "Can't we just walk away?" The DM replied, yeah. So we walked away. The piranhas were too slow to catch up to us and couldn't breathe out of water, so they just kind of died. The wizard and fighter caused an uprising of automatons in a magical university. Thing is, the automatons were all made of office supplies and they were led by the key to the professor's private study, but there was over 150 of them and they were out for blood. Oh, and did I mention the summoning circle in the office makes them effectively immortal? So these two schmucks reconvened with the rest of the party, being chased down by a horde of office supplies, wielding pencils and quoting Braveheart. It was a weird day. OP's story made me remember a very similar one. We were on an orcish stronghold island, making our way to their main base to kill their leader and the likes. As we passed this old lake with a shipwreck in it, a suit or two of armor dragged itself out of the water and started towards us. The DM asked us what we wanted to do. As it was slow and dragging, we just kind of decided to pass them by and carry on. On a different, but very memorable moment, later on the island, we found 2 watchtowers stationed by 2 orcs each. They had huge bells to warn and send signals to the main stronghold at the top. As the sneakiest rogue of the group, I barged into the first tower, saw a guard, and bolted back out, then back in, and practically killed them in a single blow. The rest of the party helped me fight to the top, and as we were dispatching the last few orcs, one went to hit the bell. Our party leader, a mousefolk wizard, infamously summoned his familiar, a cat named Muggins, to cling to the inside of the bell. The orc smashed the bell with a hammer, but luckily Muggins, being inside, allowed for the sound to be muffled and not alert anyone. Muggins died, temporarily, and we passed through undetected. That was one of the most fun encounters we've done, and I can't wait to do some more in person. I played in an after-school campaign that met every Monday. There was about 10 to 15 players, and with our teacher DMing, we had separate parties. My party and I just entered a large dungeon. We were about 3 weeks into it. We were attacked with heavy armor and two-handed weapons. We came to a part in the dungeon that had a large magical lake and a boat in the middle of it. One of my party members jumped in, not thinking of his armor, to try and swim to the boat. The DM slipped him a note. The party wanted for him to come up, but after 3 minutes, more of us jumped in. 3 more party members didn't come up, and me and my other party members sat there confused. All of a sudden, a tentacle monster swam up, holding our other 5 party members. They were dead, and not too long after, we got party wiped. We all sat there in shock as we got party wiped by a not-so-strong giant squid, and the DM explained how we had to beat a DC 20 strength save to swim up because the lake had some sort of magic that stopped anyone from swimming up. Our Lost Minds group has 2 evil members, my Githzerai Artificer and a Tabaxi Rogue. We had finished the main storyline, so the party was in Yartar for one character's backstory. Our party typically has the characters use the criminal side of cities for information. We began asking around at shady taverns to investigate murders being committed related to the backstory. The Rogue and my Artificer had found a trail from the murderer that led to the docks. We began to head back to the party when we saw a shadowy figure dart away in an alley we passed. We decided to check it out, as both of us were being hunted down for backstory reasons and didn't want to take a chance of a spy revealing where either of us are. We were immediately surrounded by 4 bugbears who revealed they were working for drow slavers and were going to capture us. 2 were in front of us and 2 were behind us. Both of our characters mocked the kidnappers, calling their plan lazy and pointing out that we had to come to them. After a while of our taunts, they drew their weapons to attack. My Artificer said, "I'll take the back, you get the front." With my Steel Defender and infused crowbar and the Rogue's great tactics as a swashbuckler, the combat did not take a long time. We kept one alive and got him to tell us where his group's hideout was, and it happened to be important for the backstory quest. After questioning, my character used his crowbar to kill the bugbear. I think the funniest thing about this to me is the fact that it wasn't the first time those 2 characters were jumped in an alley. And it also wasn't the first time they caused enemies to attack them by mocking their plans. Even more specifically, it wasn't the first time an attacker in an alleyway was executed by that crowbar after being questioned. We took part in a Peryton hunt. You and your team compete with other teams that try to kill the biggest and oldest Peryton. So we were going through forests when we encountered a team of noblemen from the Lord's Alliance. They got lost and were really angry. They started to command us to show the way out and behaved very aggressively. In response, our bard cast Gust of Wind under one of the noble's coats so that he looked very cute. Like Marilyn Monroe. He did not like that. The fight started. I was playing Moon Druid and wild-shaped into a giant octopus, restrained main long-haired noble, and started to beat him up. That is when the weird things started to happen. Long-haired noble looked like he enjoyed my company, and the other guys were moaning every time they got hit. At the end, 2 of them were unconscious, and the long-haired guy said to my octopus form, "In different circumstances, I might even ask you to continue. Ugh, but I give up." It might sound disturbing to some, but with the right group, this is pretty funny. And it was for us. And yeah, we left them alive. It's not a case of being outright hilarious, but more of a case where we stomped it hard enough that even legendary actions couldn't save the boss. We chased some kobolds down into the sewers to retrieve some stolen items for an artificer's guild, and so far, so easy. We make it up to the final area, and we find this weird oval room with a big wall in the middle, almost like a racetrack. Waiting at the end of the hall is a bunch of kobolds in a big mech suit. I'm talking 3 by 3 big, with crossbow turrets for the other kobolds to jump onto. Needless to say, they didn't stand a chance. First round, my warlock opens up with Hunger of Hadar and wipes most of the basic kobolds acting as their backup. 5 kills immediately. 2 more over the course of the fight, for 7 total tossed to the void. The 6th one was a repelling blast, knocking a kobold off of a turret and into the Hadar zone. Our monk knocked the 7th into it. We found out what the oval room was for shortly after, though, as the mech made a charging attack down the big straightaway and plowed over me. Made the concentration check, though, so Hadar was keeping the back locked down tight. Couple turns later, he recharges it and does it again, lining up on the other straightaway in the oval, but before he could get anywhere further, the monk knocks him down. That poor bastard was on the floor for the rest of the fight. All of the various dark vision-infused cave-dwelling races of our team proceeded to beat it into scrap metal with melee because he just couldn't get up. And that's why, from now on, when someone eats floor in melee range, we remember cave rules. My barbarian had a cursed sword of berserking, which was okay with him because he liked going berserk anyway, and this weapon would find his way into his hand by magic. However, we were in a major city, drinking in a crowded bar, when someone insults my barbarian's heritage and hygiene. My character, being very much a typical barbarian, answers the insult with a punch, or so he meant to. Any attack has a chance to summon the cursed sword into my hand, so I'm sure you can imagine what happened. Berserking barbarian in a crowded common room, swinging a 2-handed sword with reckless abandon. This was also 3.5, and I had the Great Cleave feat. What resulted would make murder hobos everywhere either quit and take up farming or require them to change pants and light a smoke after. As long as another living creature was within 60 feet of me, I would stay in a mindless rage, attacking everything and everyone. My party was going to sign into an inn, but when they were about to enter, they saw 7 rats the size of medium-sized dogs dragging a man away. Apparently, this was normal in this town. Best part was the dog rats could breathe underwater, hunted using the smell of blood, and this was the first fight of the campaign. My human wizard made an ice cap so they couldn't drown the man, but it was in vain. My wizard was honestly more upset about losing a spell slot than the man dying. The rats took the man, drowning him, and then started attacking us when they finished with him. My character and the ranger were bitten, and we had to kill most of the rats, some of them retreating to go eat their dead friends. Party 0, Rat Dogs 1. I was the face of the group I was in. Our DM subtly directed us towards an ancient ruin that we would come to find out was full of skeletons. But when one of the skeletons fired, their leader, the Skeleton Lord, spoke and began quoting Spaceballs with one of the other skeletons beside him. "Who made that man," referring to the skeleton that had fired at our group, "a gunner?" Quote from the Skeleton Lord. "I did, sir." This was the skeleton beside the Skeleton Lord. "He's my cousin." "Who is he?" "He's an asshole, sir." "I know that. What's his name?" "That is his name, sir. Asshole. Major asshole." Quote from another skeleton beside the Skeleton Lord. This went on to finish the entire quote, and by the end, we couldn't stop laughing, and now we reference any combat scene we can to the asshole fight. :D. Welcome, weary wanderer, to our cozy little corner cottage in the vast realm of the internet, and thank you for saving an attunement slot for the entirety of this video. You must be so tired from the road. Here, take some of this fresh hearty stew with you as you return to your quest. We've more than enough to share. If you have a funny combat encounter you'd like us to see, please feel free to share it in the comments below. If you have another story you'd like to share with us for a future video, the best place to post it would be our official subreddit, r/MrRipper, the headquarters of our beloved community, where we source most of the stories we share on this channel. If you are a DM or a player looking for a group, Mr. Ripper's group finder link is in the description. Let's talk Twitch for a sec. If you enjoy Dungeons & Dragons as well as the sound of my voice, I would enthusiastically encourage you to check out our live-streamed D&D campaign, Fire and Dice, every Saturday evening over at 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pacific time. That's 8 p.m. to midnight Eastern. But if you're just in it for the stories, you can join us every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. GMT on Mr. Ripper stream, where we tend to favor stories contributed by the chat. All the links to our Twitch channels can be found in the description below. And of course, if you wish to bring me an abundant wellspring of joy, please check out my TikTok, Dave Makes Noises, maybe even shoot me a follow if you like. Thanks again for watching. We love you so much over here at Rip Daddy's house. Please sub for nat 20s and ding that dong for advantage on your next attack roll, saving throw, or ability check. Stay safe, and we'll see you in a couple of days, you sweet little cutie idiots. Mwah.